How many people here are currently running a business? And how many people are looking to start a business within this field? If you answered yes to those two questions, you're going to get a ton out of this talk. We're going to take about 45 minutes to go through a process that Michelle and I have distilled over the last couple of weeks, kind of looking at how we managed to get to where we are. And we're going to talk about some of our successes and some of our failures. Being that we're engineers, we're very process-driven. That works to our favor, but it can also work against us sometimes. And so we're going to kind of go through that process that we've created. And I know it's going to be really helpful for you, even if you're in a business right now or if you're looking to start a business up. All right, so as you guys heard in the introduction, we're both mechanical engineers. Actually, before I was a mechanical engineer, I actually worked in my dad's cake factory. I'm Charlie in the chocolate factory. We would put out, 50 to 60,000 cheesecakes in a day. So here I am teaching about decentralized energy and local food. And I've cut my teeth, if you will, in the industrial food system and industrial energy system. So it's kind of interesting how our backgrounds kind of inform where we end up going. So we were both working in the oil and gas industry and, really challenged by our jobs, doing pipeline and facilities type engineering. And we felt really conflicted. We felt really conflicted because on one hand, we were using natural gas to heat our home. We were driving our car with gasoline. I was the very person that was bringing this stuff to market. And how could I criticize the very industry that I was supporting as a consumer? And that's always driven me nuts about the environmental movement, is that we'll sit in one sphere and talk badly about an industry, and then we'll hop into our car or our heated house or our air-conditioned building and kind of ignore the fact that we're part of the problem. And so that really bugged me. And the more I started looking into things like peak oil and all sorts of problems that we don't need to get into today, I started to believe this myth, and it's a myth that you guys are all well aware of. It's this myth that humans are inherently destructive. We get this myth all the time through Facebook, through the internet, through newspapers, through the media. And that really started to bug me, and I started to believe it. It's a really negative thing. We didn't really know where to go. Serendipity struck one day. I actually got Jeff Lawton's 5-minute video, Greening the Desert. And my life has ever, from that point on, has been different. Because shortly thereafter, we quit our jobs. We traveled around the world. We spent probably close to 2 years going to different places around the world. And we didn't realize it at the time, but we were actually picking up different business models. And so we spent time at a renewable energy institute in Denmark for 6 months, learned everything we could. Being from the energy industry, we wanted to get a really firm understanding of the energy side of things. And while we're all talking about how we can't repower our communities in North America, Denmark's doing it. So we left Denmark with this really good feeling in our gut that, okay, that's another myth we've just busted. We're talking about how it can't be done. They're going to do it probably within the next 10 or 15 years. They're going to be 100% renewable. We traveled all through Western Europe. We looked at low energy buildings. We looked at biogas plants, solar energy, wind turbines, you name it, we did it. And then we came back to North America and we traveled through lots of the United States, through Mexico, Central America. We knew leaving Denmark we could repower the world, but we weren't sure how we were going to feed the world. And this permaculture thing kept bumping up in my head, and I was like, oh man, I've really got to explore that. And so towards the end of that first sabbatical that we took, I took my first PDC, and I was totally hooked. I didn't really know how I was going to integrate that information as an engineer, but it's evolved very nicely since then. Since that first PDC, I've spent 6 months in Australia. We've been to the Middle East, parts of Africa, and I can tell you assuredly that the world does actually look very positive in the future if we just engage ourselves. One of the interesting things that I learned coming back from all of this was that there are no jobs doing what I wanted to do. So leaving engineering, I had no Like, I'll just give you an example of my education. I didn't get a design project until year 6, like an actual design project that I could like cut my teeth with as an engineer. I spent all that time learning calculus and all of these other design methodologies. So when I found permaculture, it was like, oh man, now I have a tool to contextualize and create process for all of this information that I have over here. And when the two of them got together, they had babies. And one of the babies was Verge Permaculture. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we created Verge, and also the projects that we're working on right now. We're actually going to create another company. Like we don't have enough work already. We're going to actually form another company in the next little while. So before I get into this process, I just want to say that my goal is not green business. I look at green business as a vehicle. My goal is earth repair. My goal is sustainable livelihood. My goal is to create space for people to pursue their passions. We all have tons of passions which are locked up inside of us because we end up doing jobs that that don't allow us to expand and express these passions. And I was saying this last night, but we all are gifted, if we're lucky, with about 600,000 life hours of energy. And it's up to us to use every single one of those hours in the best way that we can. And so green business basically allows me to create my own job doing the stuff that I want to do, which is to fix the planet and to create community. And so by doing all of this, I've met some amazing people along the way. And I know that this opportunity is open to tons of other people, because one of the things that starting a business has taught me is there's so much opportunity out there. It's just waiting to go and get grabbed. And so I'm going to give you a process tonight, 3 steps that you can follow that will, first of all, help you to figure out how to find what you should be doing. Secondly, how to design what you should be doing. And thirdly, how to communicate what you should be doing. And I like to think about this process as a stool. The stool is only as good as the weakest link. You need all 3 legs in order to be able to make a strong platform to stand on. There's tons of other stuff within building a business that you need to be aware of outside of these 3 things, but these are the 3 pillars that we've identified as being the most important.